Welcome to our latest edition of Retail Media Rundown. Excited to be here with Joon Choi. Joon, it's now March.
Can't believe
it's
it.
Like spring's in the air. Not quite the weather doesn't match that, but it's exciting to see it's already March, how quickly things are moving in the space of retail media. And everyone's kind of buzzing and talking about this latest partnership between Amazon and OpenAI, which is very fascinating because I almost felt like, Joon, it was already kind of rumored that you would think these two parties come together, but that was pretty big when I saw that headline. What were your initial thoughts when you saw that?
Honestly, it was actually pretty surprising just because with the whole marketplace restriction and Amazon blocking ChatGPT from any scraping of the data or any integrations, it was surprising. And also especially because Amazon's investment in Anthropic, which is obviously ChatGPT, OpenAI's biggest competitor. So I think a lot of these things in terms of, I think they were telltale signs, but it was actually pretty surprising to me, not just in terms of the partnership, but the size of the partnership.
Yeah.
I think it was roughly 15 billion upfront and then 35 billion if parameters are hit. And so overall, I think a couple of things it shows is the infrastructure play, the AI play, and Amazon just being able to diversify who's going to be the ultimate winner in the space.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's truly something that coming together between these two companies is really fascinating, right? I think about just expanding what you're taking is like, we're talking about some initial investment right now, but where can this go, right? Think about how Amazon very much took away the search kind of game away from Google when they first started listing products, and Amazon became the place where everyone started their search, right, for any product listings. Now with conversational AI and open AI and ChatGPT, now the game is changing, it feels like. Now more and more people are talking and having those conversations within ChatGPT, and how is Amazon looking to stay in very much ways synced into where they don't lose that. They don't lose being the place where ultimately consumers go to purchase products. And so very fascinating overall. I completely agree with you, JC. And I think to your point, it is early, right? It's still very early. It's just an investment, but think about where this can go. You know, my mind kind of goes into how does that even look like, right? In ChatGPT, what is it going to look like when you search for a product? What does it look like from an advertising point of view? So overall, it is very fascinating in general just to see where this goes. So kind of moving on to the second topic, JC, kind of very similar to what ChatGPT and OpenAI are doing with Amazon. Now you think of another big player, it's Criteo, right? Mm-hmm. So the latest news about Criteo being part of the pilot that OpenAI has when it comes to actually looking to test advertisement placement within their platform. So what are your thoughts there as you kind of hear that headline?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also, I would not have expected this to be Criteo, so it's cool to see Criteo jumping in, and I think from the advertising space, it just lends itself to kind of showcasing, hey, how important this is and how important this is becoming. Criteo is obviously a major player in this space, and so, and they manage over $4 billion of annual spend of advertising, so I think across the board, this is just a signal. More and more people, I think everybody's going to raise their hand to be a part of this pilot, to be able to advertise through ChatGPT. And Criteo is now the first mover advantage, and I'm super excited to see where this goes.
No, it's a great point, JC. I think what's exciting for me is, like, obviously with Amazon, we just talked about how that's going to be more of an investment and a partnership at a different level. But being part of that first mover advantage, like you're saying, Criteo is actually trying to get this moving even further, right? Being part of this pilot. And what's fascinating about Criteo, to your point, is we talk about Amazon, we talk about Walmart. They're all about their own ecosystem, right? With Criteo, it's 255 plus retailers, right? The reach is so much greater. So what does that mean in terms of advertisement placement? What are the ads going to look like? How does that change when you are promoting advertisements and having advertisements now in ChatGPT? What does that look like from a consumer journey? And really just how we're moving more into conversational AI, having a bigger influence on the customer journey than just these specific individual retailers. That even with Criteo, you talk about all the partners they work with, it's still going to their .com. But this conversational AI piece of it is really going to be fascinating to kind of watch. in the same theme, what should brands be thinking about when they now see this headline about Criteo being part of the pilot and such a big company is now being part of this? How would you take that if you were running a brand right now?
Well, I think that I was reading, and the CEO of Criteo actually released a blog about this, where he said that a lot of people think that the ChatGPT search is going to directly compete against retail media dollars, where there's probably going to be some overlap. But he makes an interesting point, which I actually do agree with, that it's not going to necessarily directly compete. It's just expanding the funnel, because retail media is always going to be more of the conversion play. And obviously Amazon's trying to branch out of that, which I think they're doing a good job with DSP. But a lot of people do still look at retail media as this conversion play, discovery play, where basically I think it's going to expand the funnel. It's going to be a new channel where people are discovering, whether it's not Google, now it's ChatGPT. It has a much more personalized recommendations. And at the end of the day, I think they're still going to end up at these, let's say, Amazon, Walmarts of the world to ultimately buy. And so I think as a brand, there's a lot of, I think, preparation that you need to do across the board. We talked about this earlier, but across your product detail pages, just make sure you're optimized, because the brands that are optimized for these LLMs are going to be able to win and have a first mover's advantage and just an overall advantage across the board against brands that aren't optimized. And you're leaving a lot of dollars on the table, and it's not a simple fix, but it's to optimize these PDPs for LLMs. It's not a massive overhaul, right? And so I think those are the key things as a brand, just low-hanging fruit, optimize your PDPs to speak to these LLMs, and I think you'll be in a good place.
Moving on to another topic, with Amazon really expanding their AI creative agent to Canadian sellers as well. Very interested to see, because a lot of things that we've heard initially is creatives are a challenge at times for sellers on Amazon. So JC, what are your thoughts when you hear about this expansion now to Canadian sellers?
Yeah, I mean, I think this whole creative agent, specifically from Amazon, is a big deal. And I think a couple of things. Obviously, from a sponsored product perspective, and how easy AI has made it for not just even product or sponsored products, but product detail pages, high quality. It basically democratizes the power of A+ detail pages, right? And so I think that's one thing. But then as you think about even these videos that these AI agents are able to generate, and how there was a high cost of barrier of entry, and as much as Amazon wants to expand into DSP and kind of be the DSP for everyone, it's a big gap that they're filling here. And so I think across the board, from a creative standpoint, but also their broader vision of, okay, if we solve this creative problem, can we get more into video advertising? Can we get more DSP dollars? Can we win the upper funnel with the data that we have? And now we pair that with bridging the gap of creatives and enabling even smaller advertisers. Imagine smaller advertisers that never had the budget to invest in TV. Now they have the opportunity to invest in Prime Video without millions of dollars. And so I think it's going to be a big unlock. AI is only going to get better and better and better. And so I'm really excited to see how this shapes out.
Yeah, and just to expand that, I think what I find interesting is that point that you brought up about smaller sellers or mid-sized sellers. This is not just a game of having great video assets now when it comes to advertising on Amazon, just for the top sellers or folks that have really good assets, or the brands that really have a team that are investing in assets. And it's really kind of evens the playing field a little bit to that degree, and really then hopefully unlocks more of that upper funnel advertising dollars, because now you have the creatives to go with it, so it's worth the investment there. And there's been a lot that we've talked about, and even we're seeing kind of in the industry about how more around programmatic and more about upper funnel is an opportunity where, especially with the advancements of Amazon with AI and AMC and just in general, the putting the journey together for these sellers that are advertising, it makes it easier to understand and know where to really invest their dollars. The creative was one of those things that was always a challenge. So I'm also excited to see that this is expanding. I think it's a big move, and really will hopefully enable those Canadian sellers to really kind of open up more on the DSP and upper funnel and streaming TV and advertising side. Well, that's a wrap on our episode of Retail Media Rundown today. Thanks everyone for joining. We're excited about the conversation, how it continues to be focused on the evolution of AI and retail media. We love to bring the topics that are relevant to you. Please put your comments below for any topics you would like us to address in the future. I know we got Prosper Show now and excited about meeting with clients and prospects, and a great event just in Q1. So looking forward to hopefully speaking to you and seeing you next time. Thanks, everyone.